joined now by the 2021 Irish Press Photographer of the Year, James Crombie from Info. Good morning to you, James.
Good morning. How are you getting on, guys?
Thanks a million for jumping on the call. He's the guy behind that photograph is really what we need to tell you this morning, and we'll come to that in a minute. But we're delighted that you could take the time to jump on with us, James. And we've asked you to pick out some of your favourite photographs of the last year, and you kindly invited us to dip into your back catalogue, and we've done that as well and picked out a few. So we want to get into them and get through them. But I found myself yesterday. I was sent on the link of how you got into sports photography at all, and it was a fairly high profile and interesting path. Will you give us a brief reminder about what it was all about?
Yeah, I done a reality TV show in 2006 on RTE called No Experience Required. So they were looking for a trainee sports photographer. So bit of a mad start to my career. Been following around for about a month. But I was lucky enough to actually win the show, and 15 years later, I'm still here doing it. So, mad start.
Yeah, it's incredible looking back at it, given that what we know now, and having your job interview laid bare in front of the nation is probably not something that anybody would need to have to look back on. We mentioned that photograph, and we'll show these to our viewers as we work through them. The Murmurations photograph is the one that really caught the nation gripped the nation over the last couple of weeks. I think it's fair enough to say. Have you enjoyed because I mean, like you take amazing photographs. We'll get into some of that over the next little while, but this one has had an impact with the country in a way maybe that few others could have.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal. Like I've probably had one other image that's kind of gone viral. This went viral. My phone didn't stop for about 5 days. I needed it to stop in the end because I was trying to reply to everyone, and it went kind of worldwide as well, which is kind of a bit of a mad occurrence. I actually had a job on Thursday for one of my clients, an 8-hour job in the middle of this going viral, and I had people ringing me for interviews, and I was photographing a fairly high profile GA player doing an interview with the Irish Examiner. So it was a bit of a mad day, but we got through it anyway. Hopefully the pictures turned out okay for the client as well.
You found yourself in the unusual scenario where you're the one saying, listen, do you mind just you hold on there a few minutes? I just got to go and do this interview.
It was crazy. Like a former footballer of the year, I had to say that as I was photographing him. So yeah, it was okay.
Just in terms of, because I've looked at little bits and pieces how it's come about. This was not sort of you out for a bit of a stroll and found yourself at this opportunistic moment. You've been plotting this one.
Yeah. Myself and a good friend of mine, Colin Hogg, had spent nearly 60 nights out in the lake over the course of the last 3 months. So it was a lot of trucking through fields and trying to find the birds, and they don't really have a dedicated pattern, so we had to try to find out what the pattern was. But I'm a sports photographer. That's my job. I would never have had this opportunity apart from all the time we've had. Do you know what I mean? It's been we had a lot of free time in the last 12 months, so it was great to have that opportunity.
And was it the express intention, like you obviously know the area, I think you're from around the area, was it with the express intention of chasing the Murmurations? Was that your intention going about it, or was it something that materialized while you were out there?
No, we wanted to get a Murmuration shot. I knew there was a good shot in it, but I didn't exactly know it would be this spectacular. I got a couple of shots I was really happy with over the course of the 60 days, but it was good kind of therapy anyway, because it was just something to do every day for 2 hours and get wet, and you know what I mean? And like, it was rain, snow, fog. We've seen every conditions out there, and some spectacular sunsets, some days where you couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. But look, it was it's just a bit of a project, and it was really enjoyable,
It's interesting that you said it. Sorry, Age, it's interesting that you said that essentially the free time inspired this, that you've actually made such a massive opportunity out of what a lot of people would view as something that is holding back opportunities when it comes to the pandemic. I mean, like in previous years, I presume you'd be up and down the country in all sorts of different places, and you're missing out on things like this.
Yeah, like as a sports photographer in Ireland, you're quite busy because we're quite unique in this country. We've got GA, rugby, soccer, and horse racing, a bit of everything. So it's not a quiet country for sports. So you'd never have that. I'd never have that amount of time. And when I do have free time, my wife wouldn't let me go off wandering, trying to take other pictures. You know what I mean? So, like we have 4 young kids here, so she's a bit of a saint actually for being understanding.
The photograph itself and the shape that the birds materialized into, and apologies for the slightly ludicrous question, do you know, have they any sense of what they're doing there, or is that just something that just happened?
I have no idea. Like throughout the 60 days, you were seeing shapes, and you might say, "Oh, that looks like a rabbit," or "That looks like a dolphin," or so. I don't know. Like, you know, sometimes when this sounds a bit silly, but when you look at the clouds, you kind of say, "Oh, that looks like something."
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I'd like to think they did, but they're definitely forming groups and clusters to scare away predators, because. But when they done that, there would have been a sparrowhawk or something in the area. This is all new to me in the last. I haven't really been a wildlife guy, but when you go out there so much, you see the slightly bigger bird chasing them, and they get very excited when the bigger birds in the area. So you know, they're doing something. Whether they actually meant to form a big bird, I don't know. The video, it's majestic what they did. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that would make total sense, that they were trying to make some sort of threatening shape to ward off. And there was some doubters as well, James, but you had the video too as hard evidence.
So lucky. Like, we'd been out nearly, that was nearly our 60th night, and that was the first time we'd properly done video, which is
right.
The irony of it all. So just so lucky we had it, because there's always going to be doubters. There's always going to be doubters, but I have the original files, and I don't really like to entertain people. I know myself, but there was no messing going on. So what can you do?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely class, and you really gave the nation a bit of a lifter as well. Everybody was talking about it, and everybody enjoyed it. We would be obviously familiar enough with your back catalogue as well, and as I said, we asked you to dip in a little bit, and there's a few that you picked out, and there's a few that we picked out. Croghan Hill was another one that everybody was talking about last year, and if I'm right, it was all about timing and a tight window on planning again.
Yeah, it was the super moon, I think, last April. So we just started our major lockdowns, and you know, everyone was talking about the super moon for about a couple of days. It's a picture I thought of. I literally said to someone 10 years ago, I want to silhouette someone hurling against the moon. And you know, we said it was a good idea, but again, not having the time to be able to do anything. For the space of a month from the first lockdown, for the first 6 weeks, I had no jobs. There was nothing in my schedule. So I got on to the same friend I'd done this commemorations with. He's a geophysicist, so he's good at calculating angles and, you know, distances and stuff. So he was literally able to calculate. It really helped. Like, you'd love to say, I was just walking by the field and I seen a guy hurling on the moon. Like, we had to get, you know, tripods, long lenses, exact time, hoping for a clear night. It's my twin brother hurling on the hill.
Right.
So so like you'd love to say it's natural, you're just seeing some guy up there, but I think you could be waiting there for 1,000 years to actually stumble across someone hurling on the moon at the exact same time. So, but it went crazy in Ireland, and the irony is I actually gave him a soccer ball to go up with as well. Okay, and I says, okay, I don't think the world. I kind of had an idea this picture was going to go pretty mad. And I said, I don't think the world's going to get hurling. So I says, look, have a soccer ball and I'll get you to try to do a bicycle kick or something when you're up there, or a header or something. And I was on my earphones to him up in the hill. And I was saying, run forward, back, you know, jump, do your hurl thing. And then I said, okay, head the football. And he goes, I let the football drop. And it went down the hill. So he had we've never got the football back because it was pitch dark. But yeah, the UK and the American market had to deal with a hurler and try to figure it out.
That's class. How long did that session, like how many pucks and laps did he give?
He got about 60 seconds before the moon went over the hill. It was so quick. It was just phenomenal. Like, you can play back through all the files I took, and you can just literally see the moon coming up over the hill so quick. So we had a very, very tight window, but like, that's why the calculations were so precise. If he was, you know, 500 meters away, I don't think he would have met it there in time. You know, we just needed it just as the moon crested the hill. So yeah, and we one shot at it because the night before I went down to test it on my own just to see what it worked, and it was too bright. And then the next night it was cloudy, so there was one opportunity for that moon to be in that exact spot with the clean hill. So yeah, it was very lucky again, you know. But you have to make your own luck as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's class. There was a couple more that really spoke to what's going on over the last 12 months, and we might tie these ones together. The first one is the guy in the ladder in the graveyard. Where is that?
Yeah, that is in Dr. Hyde Park in Roscommon.
Right.
And again, a game I'd never be at. It was the Roscommon Senior Football Championship semi-finals. Like we would do county finals, but you know, we there's so many on in that space of time generally when it's on. So there was very little on that day, and I said to the office, look, I might go down and do the Roscommon games, like Bridges were playing. There's some high-profile, you know, teams there, and there's obviously nobody there, but I could see this guy at the back of the wall, and I knew it was quite a high wall. I didn't know there was a graveyard there, but I could just see his head popping up and down like this. And it became a bit of a project. The whole, you know, lockdown was trying to get the guys outside looking in, if you know what I mean. So I took a bit of a stroll at the game, like. You know, we had a few pictures in the game. It wasn't as important if I missed something really important. I couldn't believe he was in a graveyard up a 20-foot ladder. And I was like, so I didn't send it to him. I kind of went around the back and I took a shot. He was obviously celebrating something happening. And then I went up to him and I asked him, you sure? Just try to be safe there, man. It was very precarious. And he wouldn't give me his name, but his actually daughter, he ended up being interviewed in the Roscommon Herald, and his daughter rang me yesterday to congratulate me and stuff. So he's taking the fame now. So.
And are you worried when you're going out to do that? Are you worried that I'm going to have to ring the office now and tell them that I missed that thing on the pitch because I was in a graveyard taking a photograph of some lad's arse who's having a look at how does that work?
If it was Munster, Leinster, or if it was Ireland, England in the Six Nations, I probably wouldn't be able to just go for a wander in case the important moment happened for me. But when you kind of know what you need out of certain games, you know what I mean? And I had enough stuff in that game, so yeah. That picture's lasted a lot longer than any other picture from that game. So
that's true. And the one with the similar theme with the one with the lads on the trolleys.
Yeah, down in
beautiful picture
down in Austin Stack again. The Kerry guys are very clever at getting to see games, and there was more cars and vans and parked the whole way along that wall at Dunstores. So you can see there was lots of people watching it from outside, and then technically they weren't doing anything wrong because they were standing on their van outside. But I've seen a bunch of these young guys. So I went out and had a look. There was a bunch of young guys all running around the car park with trolleys. What are they up to? And they were all going over and they put all the trolleys against the wall, and it was fairly precarious. Like they could barely see over, like. But it was so funny. Like it's not contrived at all. I just said behind them, and there you are, all the young guys with their white socks and black trainers all watching the game. I think the Austin Stacks, I think the club contacted me afterwards to say that it was like 7 or 8 of their under-16s who were trying to watch their colleague, because I think it's under-17 minor now, so they were trying to watch their club mates playing. So they were able to name everyone in the pictures. It was quite funny. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I wondered, like with that, and you mentioned your pal in the graveyard and his he's reluctant to give your name and that sort of thing. So you go up to him afterwards almost, do you, and say, listen here, I've taken this picture, you all right with that?
You try not to disturb the scene. Like in that scenario, you couldn't see his face anyway, so it was grand, like, you know what I mean? But there was a few people during lockdown where they'd be peering in through gates, and I thought they were good shots, and I'd take a photograph and just, no, don't put that out, don't send it out. Right. You don't do it. You respect people if they don't want to. You just I'm not to really achieve by annoying them that way. But most people, embrace and enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wondered about that, and there's a couple more upcoming as well that we can talk about in this regard. Like, even outside of the COVID thing, because I would understand people would be like, oh, listen, I was kind of bending the rules a bit. Don't put me in the paper sort of thing. Would you have much experience before that of people saying, just for whatever reason, like, you've got a great photograph and you're like, geez, this is gonna be brilliant, and they're like, no, I'd rather you didn't use that. Would you have much experience of that, or typically are people willing to play ball?
People are generally willing to play ball. Like I think if you approach them right, I done a lot of I done the 2 Euros, 12 and 16 as a fan photographer, as well as doing the games. But I didn't have to go to training and press conference. Probably the best gig you'll get as a soccer correspondent or as a soccer journalist. So I was able to party with them, and 90% of the time they were fine about it, you know what I mean? So yeah, the odd person will say, I remember photographing someone in a swimming pool in Cyprus. I was over in Nicosia for Ireland played Cyprus in 2009, and there was only about 2 Irish fans in the same hotel I was in. And I asked them to take their picture, and they said, we're actually off sick from work, so you can't take our picture. So apart from that, you don't get too many refusals,
Yeah. Well, Owen has plenty of experience as well of tracking fans, don't you, Owen, at big tournaments?
Don't think it's quite on the don't think it's quite on the same artistic level somehow as what James is bringing to the table somehow.
It's a great gig. It's a great gig as a photographer, like, because you're literally paid to be a fan, and you know, you get your picture in the paper, and so it's great. You come a little bit of a, like I'm going to say, you come well known by all the fans because they'll have seen you getting someone else in the paper, and they want to be in the paper. And I said, well, you know, do something semi-stupid, you might get in the paper.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The Tip Mayo All-Ireland semi is another one we want to talk about. And there was barely a soul in the ground, obviously, but the atmosphere is really hopping off this photograph. Did you know what you wanted, James, before you went into that, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I spent about 15 minutes on the ground during that game trying to get that shot. I kind of slightly remember the game was slightly one-sided. So again, you kind of judge yourself when you're at a game. If it goes a bit one-sided, you know, the anticipation of the really important moment kind of goes. If Mayo scored on a goal, you know, if it's a tight game, 1-goal game, you have to make sure you get it. But you know, if it's not, you can be a little bit more creative, I suppose. So, and obviously foggy night, December, All-Ireland semi-final, like such a bizarre experience for everyone there. You know, I assume it was for the players as well. So I was definitely trying to capture that kind of, you know, bleak December, empty crowd thing. So yeah, I'm delighted the way it worked out, you know.
It was really weird to watch on television as well, James. Like, it was the foggiest I can remember a game in Croke Park. It was hard. It was actually hard to see at times, where you were thinking to yourself, is this game going to get cancelled almost? So I presume that presents a whole range of technical difficulties for you on the day.
It does, but photographers, like, we'd love to work in snow, fog, rain, anything interesting that breaks from the norm. Like, we dive at it. Every one of us said, geez, I wish it snowed today or something. Like, it's terribly uncomfortable to work at. It's horrible, but the pictures are so much better when it does, you know what I mean? Like, you know, steam coming out of people's mouths and stuff. We want that creative, I suppose, angle to a game, you know, so we're always hoping that something like that happens.
Well, that leads us perfectly on to the next one, because the Connacht rugby, and we're dipping back now, obviously pre-COVID, at a time where people could be in proximity of each other and not have to worry about tests and all this sort of malarkey. But the Connacht photograph in Russia from a number of years ago, like, was that, I presume that was the sort of thing that you just couldn't plan for? You were almost, was it a case of walking in the area and thinking, here we go? Or, how did that come about?
That was an unbelievable trip. And obviously the picture turned out really well, but like the whole trip was like, we were over in Russia, and I can't remember what part of them, like is in Siberia, so we're right up Krasnoyarsk. Like a training, John Muldoon's beard had frost on it, literally frost on the tentacles. It was just so incredibly cold. Like I remember sitting in the corner of that game, and a Russian photographer taking pictures of me. I was like, what the hell? I think because they kept walking around to stay warm, and I was sitting down as we usually would, not trying to move. But slowly getting, I think, early onset pneumonia. But I remember Jack Carty came up to me at one stage and was kind of slightly worried about me, because he was actually warming up, and he gave me a hand warmer, and he says, "Are you sure you're okay, man?" I said, "Yeah, I think I am." But then I strolled around near the end of the game, and I could see during the game that the Martin Joyce, the kit man, had got all the guys' blankets and stuff. So I said, it looked like such a bizarre picture. So I went over and took it, and it was well received by everyone, and it really summed up the trip, I think.
Yeah, caught it brilliantly. All right. This racing punter was a man who's been at many's the meet, and certainly not afraid to let people know about it. There's almost, this again might be a slightly ludicrous one, but it looked almost like, and I don't know if I'd been looking at the Murmurations photograph too long, but there's almost something bird-like to it, like the plumage and the eyes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's I really like that picture. Believe it or not, I have that picture in my bathroom at home, so I don't know what that says about me, but I think it's a perfect bathroom picture. It's a really kind of, you know, it's a good character. It's a great picture. I really enjoy. I love taking that picture. I just think all those things, and there is some kind of inhuman thing about it. You know what I mean? It was enjoyable.
Was he pointing the binoculars directly at you, or were you at an angle almost?
Yeah, no, like. Yeah. He was a punter. He was waiting. He wanted to get his photograph taken. He was kind of bumping into all of us photographers. You know, you'd get some people like that. You know, oh, sorry. You get that a bit at certain events. You know, where people, but like, you know, you just have to try capture it to a certain extent. So yeah, he pointed right at me. So it is set up, like, to a certain extent.
Two people who probably, in hindsight, didn't want their photograph taken. The very famous, one of the most famous scenes in the modern age of Irish sport, I would say. In fact, the Johnny Sexton, Ronan O'Gara moment. And I wondered about how this one came about, because the game itself, James, about 30 minutes in, Leinster were 3 points up, but you were clearly feeling that Leinster were in the ascendancy because you were perched down in the Munster try area, or just behind it. You were ready for something to happen, and obviously not quite at that level, but something to happen in that position of the pitch.
I wish it was all anticipation and I knew it was going to happen, but we actually had 4 photographers, one in every corner. And sometimes you just have to get lucky. Do you know what I mean? That it happens in your corner. I think Contepone had just gone off injured, and it was a real, it was kind of a watershed moment in Irish out half history when the two guys kind of collided. And it was actually great to see they actually became friends in the end. I loved the documentary where they were getting, trips, or they were sharing trips in racing and stuff. But there was a bit of something in that at that very moment. I think at the time, I think, you don't actually realise you're capturing it because you're photographing the celebration. And then when you look at the back of your camera, you go, oh, there's something here. So, that shot, again, kind of lived from that game. But what an occasion. Croke Park, Leinster, Munster, full house, both teams probably at their pomp, you know what I mean? It was a phenomenal day.
Yeah. What's next for you? What have you got planned?
I'm doing Munster tonight and Connacht tomorrow, so no
Joey
rest.
Carberry, I presume, will be.
Yeah, he's going to be a topic. Hopefully, Joey comes back as strong as he was before. I think so what a great talent. So it'd be great to see him. Get the break. He's had it not very many players have had to go through what he's gone through. So it should be good tonight. Like again, the games are strange with no crowds. You know what I mean? I can't wait. Firstly, as a photographer, apart from being able to park at the front door and having no one giving out to you for getting in their way, and having no traffic problems afterwards, which are all benefits, I suppose. You need atmosphere back in these games, and we all want that. Fans want to be back. Players want fans back, and as said, the media want fans back as well. So hopefully, before the end of the year, we can start seeing that.
Well, listen, keep up the absolutely brilliant work. You've really captured the nation over the last while and beyond from some of the photographs we've shown there. Look forward to seeing your work from tonight and again over the coming months. And an absolute pleasure catching up with you to get the story behind the pictures over the last while. James Crombie, thanks a million.
Brilliant, guys. Thanks very much.